It's my great pleasure to welcome into this interview today Helen McCarthy. And Helen is a new friend of mine, but somebody who I feel as I've known for many, many years. But we've really literally only just spoken very, very recently. And Helen has a remarkable story to tell about her journey and how that journey actually relates to disease of all kinds. And I'm not going to try and second guess your how you want to present that for us, Helen. But I just would like to say I'm just so deeply grateful that you've agreed to talk to us today. And the focus is on clearly how humanity is actually responding to the events of late with this virus. So Helen, I wonder if you could introduce yourself.
Well, thanks, Neil. I'm Helen. My story began 15 years ago when I was in a situation where cancer had spread from my breast to my bones and my spine had broken, and I presented to hospital as a paraplegic. The first doctor who assessed me said, "We're going to send you home. There's nothing we can do for you." I had a large breast tumour and a tumour the size of a golf ball that had broken my spine. And I thanked him for his opinion, because during the time prior to that, a voice that had introduced itself to me on a buying trip. I owned my own business. I was a manufacturer and exporter. A voice had introduced itself to me, and I came to understand from this voice that my body wasn't static, that my body was changing from the inside, that I was being renovated through my DNA, through the light codes that were coming into my body. And there is a way that you can determine too if you're in this process. There's only one physical attribute that we all know, the group of us that are researching this, that can identify that if you've got a dark ring around the iris of your eye, the coloured iris, then your old 7 chakra system is still bringing coloured light into the body. It's being used as the prism, but light is coming in through the skin. So you can imagine that the whole organ of the skin, being the biggest organ of the body, is bringing in huge amounts of light at higher and higher frequencies. And I came to trust this voice, and it coached me through what was basically a biological collapse. The doctor said, "You'll never walk again." And it was 9 months. It took me 9 months to dispense with my walking aids and my wheelchair to be able to take my first unaided steps. It was 4 years when I got the all clear from cancer on all levels, and I dispatched myself from the medical system at that point, and have gone on to communicate with my body, because that was what it was all about. It was about communicating with my body and listening to the honesty in which my body communicated back to me. And this is what I do as a job now. So I communicate with my body. The cells tell me what it is that they're requiring, and I coach people in this way. Quantum healing probably is what you might call it.
Yeah. Oh, well, I love it. That's it's such a wonderful complementary approach to what I'm doing myself, and that's absolutely fabulous to hear. And I love also that there's a whole lot of new language. And, it's new language to describe things. I'm particularly interested in this notion of, the transmission of information through biophotons, or through the whole light spectrum. And, I'd definitely ask you to talk a little bit further around frequencies and, how you're actually using this in therapy. So let's dive straight in there. Let's have a look at how you're using it.
There are 3 of us who are researching this. One is the observer, one is the researcher who's gone back through the old records, the old writings, and determined that yes, this was predicted, yes, that we would become renewed within our own bodies. So the record is 20 years long now. And what it looks like, Neil, is a cymatic. So when the light changes frequency within the body, a new pattern is seen, and that pattern is seen through the iris of the eye. That's the only way that we know how to determine it. But in the information that comes to me, the channeling that comes to me, I can determine where somebody is on this spectrum. The graph of our spin speed rate, is which we refer to it, is an exponential graph. So in 2003, when the physical body began to be changed by the light codes, it took 2 years to change the energy field so that the light codes could affect the physicalness of the human bodies. And let's say there's probably 400 people now in this process of being observed and recorded. When those light frequencies changed their speed, in 2003, the number that was shown to us was 30 cycles per second. It's now 396,000 cycles per second. So light travelling through us as humans right now has the potential to be faster than the speed of light. So what that's doing is switching on skills and abilities that are latent within us until we recognise that they're there. And so my job with clients is to help them to bring about their own transformation and become intuitive and turn on their intuitive skills so that they can do what they're here to do, what they came to be this lifetime.
Okay. So just for listeners, clearly within the quantum experience, the speed of light becomes a bit irrelevant because we can be in two places at one time and these things. So, like there is a physics or a scientific way of actually explaining this conception of being able to communicate faster than the speed of light. Of course, standard physics looks at light and says it's one speed regardless. It will talk about many frequencies and it will talk about, like the work that I do, which involves pulsing of light, which is a different thing altogether. So it's just using standard visible light, but it's, well, non-visible in my case, but it's light, and but we're just pulsing it. In the case of what Helen's talking about, it's the quantum approach, and it's accessing the quantum world, where there really is no space and time. I'm intrigued that even in amongst that no space and no time experience that you're working with there's a way that you can reference it from the human perspective, like you can actually put a reference on it, and I like that. I really like it that that's what you're doing. It's interesting.
It's all consuming for me over the last few years. Anybody who's passionate about what they do will understand that.
All consuming. I just wonder, that we're going to make sure that there's great links for people to reach out to you and find more information about what you're doing and discuss actually how, for example, disease presentations. But the feeling I have, like the big feeling that's going on in my heart at the moment about the work that you're doing, Helen, is that this is actually about self-development. It's about personal development, as much as disease management. So the diseases are just an expression of the journey. That's the heart feeling I'm getting talking to you. So
I'm a Leo, so understand that Leo's personalities are somewhat rigid in many ways, and that was who I was. So the disease came along to be able to reshape me completely. That was the purpose.
That's lovely. That's interesting. Well, I'm a Virgo, and so logic is important to me.
I think we've transcended our astrology.
I think we probably have. Yeah, I think we probably have. Okay, look, can you? I'd just like your, your impressions of what's going on in the world. Your near environment, so in your community where you are, and in the wider community. So if you could just have just sort of speak about it and perhaps reference into, the sort of insight that you've got with these observations that you're doing. I love, by the way, that you're talking about being an observer. I think that's fabulous. So, yeah.
Let's start with the bigger picture. In the grand time scales, we are moving into a new age. And let's reference Noah here. He was the one who listened, got his message, built his boat, and when the waters came, he was ready.
Mm-hmm.
There are lots of knowers on this planet right now who are listening and preparing. And my understanding is that they're preparing for what's to come. It's not what we're experiencing right now, but it's what's to come. We're on the verge of creating a new world. We will step through this virus and step into a world that is quite different to the one that we left behind. So there's no flooding this time. There's no catastrophe this time. It is simply we are being given this amazingly privileged opportunity to stay at home, look after ourselves, care for ourselves, go inside if that's what you do, and vision what it is that you want for yourself for this new age, because what you want for yourself is what everybody wants. We are collectively co-creating. I find this the most exciting time on this planet.
That's amazingly refreshing when you compare it to the doom and gloom scaremongering that's going on. So tell me about your little community where you are.
Well, I live in Fremantle, so we're quite an unusual community, but the people I surround myself with are people who are aware of what's going on, are preparing, particularly to stay home because we're expecting the announcement that we will be in lockdown. We've all prepared. We all talk to each other every day. We have a WhatsApp thread where we all communicate daily. Everybody who's researching has news that they put on. We share it. We support each other, and we use the tools that we all know and share so that we can move through this with no concern at all.
Fabulous. Well, you know, until I speak to people like you, I only speak about people who are fearful and anxious, and I'm a lone voice, you know, because I don't fear this virus either.
Wonderful.
Not at all.
You've got that dark ring. I can't see your eyes clearly, Neil, but yes, there you go. One of the things that we've learned in this process of observation for 20 years is if you have that dark ring around the iris of your eye and the light is coming through your skin and bringing new information into your DNA, which is the receptacle for this information, and is dispersing it so that there's new chemistry, there's new embellishment of all the systems of the body. One of the first systems that was embellished was the immune system. We have super immunity. Our program may well not recognise a virus that is targeted to humans who are not functioning as we are.
Yeah. It's completely fascinating, and it's just so wonderful to actually hear, you know, somebody completely outside of my usual circles sort of talking about these things, and it's amazing. My definite understanding is that, you know, we're at a decision point, just like you're talking about, and we can stay, you know, what you're talking about, you know, locked in that old DNA expression or the old chakra system, or however you are, you know, wanting to actually look at that, or make a choice. And I love the idea of all the knowers around the world that are building their arcs and, you know, preparing for the shift and the change. And of course, it's extraordinarily fearful for people who are wanting to stay stuck in an existing paradigm. So they want to, you know, maintain themselves in a place where they are either a victim or a bully or both. You know, it's all operating. And to be able to reach out of that into a place where there's an entirely new perspective possible is very, very frightening for people. And, you know, I guess what you're receiving there yourself is that there's a choice, and people are going to make a choice. They will be making a choice.
They will.
Yeah, look, talk a little bit about, you know, what you're seeing in the wider community. So, like, I don't know if you follow social media or the news or whatever, but what are you picking up? What's coming through to you through the photons? What are you hearing?
It's such a vast emotional landscape out there. And for me, I choose to tune to the positive part of that, not to the negative part of that. So I prefer not to speak about the negative part of that, because I speak about that, I put energy into it, therefore I'm going to exacerbate that in my own life.
Okay.
So for me, I look only at the positive. This is what I've been taught through my cancer journey, to eliminate every thought that is a negative thought. So when I was lying in bed for 3 months, and the voice that speaks to me, I didn't want to know it. It was outside my parameters. I just didn't want to understand that I was evolving, because it was basically, as far as I was concerned, I'd come to the end of my life. And they said, you are not your body. And I thought about it. And there were vases of flowers in the room. And I thought, okay, so my body's like the vase, and my essence, my being are the flowers. So what if my being can coach this body back to health? And that's what I did. And the next message was to delete all my negative thoughts, to choose only the thoughts that were going to build on that expression. That was hard. You know, I was catheterized, I was bed bathed, I had 4 nurses turning me over, I was lying flat on my back for months. And to move those negative thoughts out was, well, how do I do this? And they said, well, create a vision of doing something that you've always done. The memory is in your cells. Your cells remember every memory of this life. Choose a moment where you could do whatever you wanted to do. And imagine yourself doing it now. Okay. So I went through Tai Chi, Qigong. No, I couldn't visualize myself doing that. Bike riding, no. Walking. All I wanted to do was walk. So I created this vision of walking. And the hospital was quite close to the river. And it was a part of the river that I love. So I imagined myself walking in a tracksuit with my red weights, power walking along this path. And whenever my results bottomed out, it was like, okay, this is just a blip in the program. Here I go walking with my red weights. I'm surprised that nobody actually saw me, because it was such a powerful vision for me, and my cells loved it. And then the voice said to me, okay, transfer that vision into every cell of my body. I said, how do I do that? Do it with intention. Ask every cell in your body if they're prepared for this vision, and to accept it, so that you're all working in one unified agreement. Okay, I could do that. So bit by bit, this is how I was coached. Our most powerful tools, our most creative, powerful tools, Neil, are our ability to envision, our ability to speak, and our thoughts. Our thoughts are an instruction set to every cell in our bodies. So if I could remove the thoughts that were not going to have me live, and I could only focus on the ones that would allow me to do that, which is what I did. It's what I still do. Yes, I am aware that a virus is a disruptor in the human body. Yes, I understand that it has the capacity to be able to change the way my program works. And yet I'm using the word fortify. Every cell in my body is fortified against this virus. I am safe and I am well.
One of the interesting things about virology, so if we come back to the nuts and bolts of how the body responds to a virus is just information.
That's
And
right.
so we can, there's no such thing as bad information, although dwelling on negative thoughts and so-called negative thoughts and so on and so forth, so things that you don't want to dwell on. There's no point dwelling on the stuff that you're wanting to release or let go of at all, which is obviously what you did and how you operated, and very, very successfully. But the fascinating thing for me about viruses, and I've communicated with many viruses, and they all have specific information, and they want that information to be shared, and so there's the whole process around it. And they, you know, for it to be shared, a person doesn't have to go into a hysterical reaction, which is what we're seeing worldwide at the moment, is this hysterical immune system response to a piece of information. And it's not essential for, you know, for people to, you know, follow in that path at all. And, you know, rather the information's just there, and let's have a look at the information.
And some of the viral information is actually positive change for the human body.
Absolutely. Well, we wouldn't possibly be able to physically evolve in the way that we do without viruses. The viruses are interacting with our DNA all the time. And there are countless trillions of them inside our body all the time, doing nothing other than supplying information to our cells. That's all they're doing. They're just actually providing information to the cell. But this is scientifically known. It's scientifically known that this is occurring. And indeed, in things like, you know, cancer presentations and that type of thing, viral, but also fungal interactions with the cells are critical to those decision-making processes. And, you know, if you think in terms of your case where, you know, there was a decision being made by your cells to actually, you know, go down that track of the, you know, the cancer formation, it's just based on the information. It's based on the interpretation of the information. It's how we interpret it. It's what we do with it. And the thing I love about what you're saying is that through your intention and the power of it, like I can feel and sense the power of it as you're talking to me or talking to all of us, is that intention becomes really critical in the analysis that the cells are making about what they're going to do with the viral information. So sorry, I didn't mean to actually waffle on that extent, but
I think that's valuable information, because that's exactly what I do. If there is information that is beneficial, then my cells will receive it and utilize it for my highest good always. But if there is information that isn't of the frequency that I would choose to embody, then I'm fortifying against that. It's a discernment process for me.
Yeah, discernment is a wonderful word. It's about discernment. Look, what can people do who are watching this, who are experiencing, you know, having a negative experience? What can they do? Like, what would be 3 great things that you could suggest to people?
The first one would be to bring a colour through the body. Colour is a frequency. So one of the things that I ask of clients who come to see me is, your body will tell you what is the colour that you need in this moment. And it's not the colour that's important. Us as humans have a concept of colour. It's the frequency spectrum that colour brings into the body, that brings the body into balance. And it brings it into an amazing sense of peace. So ask your colour. And then imagine, there are many ways to do it. You can see it coming in as through the open crown of your head, that you're maybe in a bubble and that you're breathing it through and you're filling up every cell. It's something that I do every day as medicine, because I'm bringing the natural frequency world into my body, because my body is saying that this frequency is what's best for you in this moment. The second thing would be an intention. You know, what is your intention for you? Not about the virus, but for you. What is your intention this day? And to define that in a really positive way. I know intentions are really powerful. When I leave my house, I say, multidimensional self, arm and guard my house, make it impenetrable to all those who do not have a physical key. On this particular day, I left the remote beeper in my garage for someone to come and pick up a box of organic goods. And I sent her a text saying, come and collect it, it's in the garage. I get a phone call from her saying, I'm standing with the beeper for your garage, the remote control for your garage door, and I'm standing there holding it and pointing it at the door and nothing's happening. And in that moment, I realised that the beeper to my garage works on infrared rate. It's not a physical key. She can't get in. So she is to wait for me until I get home, and I drive in. She gives me the remote. I point at the door, up it goes. She gets a box of goods and she goes, what just happened? So I know how powerful intentions are.
Yeah.
So choose your intention wisely. My intention for today, my personal intention for today, because my daughter arrives from the eastern states with 3 of her children to start a new job, and they're all going to live with me from this evening onwards, and I was expecting them in 2 weeks' time. My intention for me is that my day will proceed methodically and thoroughly so that I can make every preparation required for their comfort tonight and fit in clients easily and effortlessly. So what is your intention? Speak your intention aloud so that the cells can hear you. Your cells are intelligent. Every single one of your cells holds the intelligence, which is the collective of your own intelligence. Talk to them. They will talk back to you. And monitor your thoughts. You know, every thought is an instruction set to your cells. They're going to implement that. So the day that the voice, when I was in hospital, boomed at me, you are not your body, I was rationalising my death. I was going, I'm no use to anybody. I will never be able to walk again. What's the point in being here? I can't run my business. Let's just check out. And the voice shouted at me, you are not your body. And I realised in that moment that the essence of my being that inhabits this body has the capacity to do amazing things, amazing things. If I can bring myself out of, I think there was 4 or 5 bone tumours, a large breast tumour. You know, if I can do that and still walk now and live a life that's healthy and productive, we are underusing our potential as humans.
Seriously. So can you please just make the connection for the viewers between you are not your body and the focus, the intention into the body? How does that tie in?
Okay, so let's go back to my analogy of the vase of flowers. The flowers can't stand up from the picked garden unless they're supported in water in a receptacle.
Yeah.
As spiritual beings, we require a receptacle. We choose the receptacle. It's called a body. And we inhabit this body. We are not the body. When you ask all your cells to work with you and get a unified agreement, you change the working program of your beingness in your body. Because your beingness has a program, your body has a program. But as soon as you get every cell to agree to work with you, then the being and the body meld together their programs and their intelligence expands.
Okay, that's terrific. Very clear. So the body is the vase and the flowers are the spirit in that analogy. And that the focus of humans generally is that they are their body and that there's nothing much beyond it. And so the focus here, the intention here is to recognize from the body. So have the body recognize that, you know, Helen is Helen and the body is the body. And we're correlated, but we're not the same. This is the message.
If I'm in pain, which sometimes I am, I've been surgically rearranged, so there's some pain at times. If I call attention, body, do you realise that I am the being in here experiencing that pain and it's in this location? The body goes, oh, sorry, didn't realise we're doing some, they often call it recurrent realignment, which to them is we're doing some work to repair you. I'm sorry that you're experiencing pain. I go, okay, we'll just keep on with the repair, but just tone back on the pain. And I can talk to the body like that, and it will do whatever I want it to do.
Yeah. Yeah. So
we are two things working as one.
Yeah.
But the intelligence is great.
Yeah. So like the message is that there's an infinite range of suggestibility in the body, and you can suggest to the body or the cells of the body or the body in general, new things, and new things will actually occur. So that's really, really good. Really, really great analogy. The way that you're actually describing that is tremendous. So what would your, obviously we're going to have associated with this video on the website, we'll have ways of connecting with you and being able to actually interact with the work that you're doing. But what would be your, your appeal or the big message that you'd like to actually share out to the world? What would be that? And how would that be done? Like really concrete, really practical. What would your appeal to the world be?
That at this moment, we are co-creators of what's to come. Let's put into that co-creation everything that's going to benefit us as a global community, and only that which is going to benefit us as a global community, with your thoughts, with your words, with your actions, in kindness. Let kindness be our guiding light. We all know how to be kind.
Well, Helen, that's extremely useful. Thank you so much. I urge people to reach out to Helen and look into the work that these researchers are doing in Fremantle. I think it's fabulous that we've got a community in Fremantle. Fremantle is a suburb of Perth. I live outside of Perth. I live in the country. But Helen and I are not so far away from each other, probably only about 40 kilometres separation or something like that. And yet, here we are, speaking to people around the world, and this is this great community. So, and community is the word that I really took out of, that appeal that you're talking about. Do what's good for the community. Yeah. Perfect. Thank you so much. Thank you.
Thank you, Neil.